Okay, everyone, I'm going to show you how to use Webassign graphing tool to create an ogive. Basically, what you want to do when you create an ogive, just in general, you want to make sure that you're graphing the cumulative frequencies. When you graph your very first point, it should lie on the x-axis at 0. Then when you make your second point, you start at 4, then your third point should be at 13. Then the next point should be at 38, then 54, then 57. So think about it as you're adding an extra point at the beginning here so that it starts at 0. Okay, here are our class boundaries. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create an ogive by connecting line segments using our graphing tool. So the first thing you want to do is come over here. You have different options for lines. You have a line with 2 dots, a line with 2 arrows, or a line with a dot and an arrow. When we make an ogive, we want to use a line segment so that it has a dot on either end. And we're just going to overlap those line segments. So when I click on that, it gives me an option of putting 2 points down here. Here would be my x, this would be my corresponding y value, and that would be the first point that I graph. And then when I jump down to the next line, it says 0.2. This would be my x coordinate and my corresponding y coordinate. So like I said before, you always want to start with 0. So I'm going to start my first class boundary. I'm going to start with 235.5. And my y value would be 0. We want to start at 0, and we're going to use our class boundaries as our x values and our cumulative frequency as our y values. The next point I'm going to put in for the other end of my line segment, I'm going to put in 260.5, and my corresponding y value would be my cumulative frequency, which would be 4. So I'm going to put in 260.5, and then I'm going to put in 4, and it creates my line segment for me. Now I need to go to the next line segment, and what I want to do is I want to overlap my points. So this point right here, the second point of my first line segment, is going to be the first point of my second line segment so that they overlap and connect. So I'm going to come up here and click that I want to make another line segment. Make sure you're picking it so that it has the dots on either end. I'm going to click it, and then I'm going to put down here my second set of points. Now I want to clarify and emphasize that this point right here should be the first point of your second line segment so that they overlap. That is the trick to make this work. Okay, so I'm going to put in 260.5, and then I want to put in 4. Now that point overlaps. Okay, now I want to graph my next point. My next point would be 285, this one here, with my corresponding y value for my cumulative frequency is 13. So I'm going to put in 285.5 and 13. Now that's created my second line segment. I want to make my next line segment, and I want my second point of the second line segment to overlap with the first point of the third line segment. We got to make sure that they keep overlapping. So when I make the first point for my next line segment, I want to do the same thing again. I want to do 285.5, 13, so that point overlaps, and then I'm going to use my next point. My next point right here, I'm going to use 310.5 and 38 for my corresponding y value. That's my cumulative frequency. So I'm going to put in 310.5, whoops, 310.5, and then 38. That makes my next one. Okay, so hit the line segment again. We got 2 more to do. So I got to overlap my points. So I'm going to put the same point in again, 310.5, 38. And then for my second point, I'm going to put in 335.5. And then for 335.5, my cumulative frequency is 54, so that should be my corresponding Y value. Okay, last line segment, I'm going to put in 335.5 and 54 so that my points overlap. And then my last point on my last segment, line segment, is going to be 360.5, 57, because that's my corresponding Y value because we're doing the cumulative frequency. So 360.5 and then 57. And then we're all done. Then you're just going to submit it. I don't know if I have an option here to submit as the instructor, but I'll let you guys try that at home. But there's your Ogive. If you have any questions, please let me know. Hopefully this helps.